Hello, so today we're doing a classic risotto to make arancini. Just want you to know it's very important to heat up your chicken broth first. And we're going to add some saffron because we're making a classic risotto. Now the only difference in my arancini and, probably the ones in Sicily, they like to put peas, but I'm not crazy about peas, so we're not doing peas. The other thing I do is I chop up everything ahead of time so I'm ready to go. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of butter, maybe a little more than that, and then I'm adding some olive oil. The combination makes sure that your butter doesn't burn, which is great. I also wrap my onions up because if you're like me, I can't take onions. They just make my eyes water. And I have these handy dandy onion glasses. If you're somebody that onions bother you, you have to get these. I'm sure they're anywhere on the internet. Onion goggles. Okay, so we're going to start with our onions. So it's about a half of a large onion or a cup, a very small. You'll notice I dice all the vegetables very small because we're making it into arancini. So when I roll the balls, I don't want any big pieces of vegetable in there. So now we're going to cook the onions until they get soft, which is going to be a couple minutes, about 3 or 4 minutes. So we'll do that. In the meantime, let me show you. So this is my arborio rice. You can use many different brands, but this is easy to find in most stores. And then we're going to have, the next thing that's going in is carrots, celery. It's about equal parts of each. And then we have our garlic. This is going to also be some white wine will go in. Make sure you use a wine that you would drink. Don't use anything that you wouldn't drink. That's the rule in cooking. Okay, so what you want to see is you want them to start to get translucent, which they're starting to do. All right, we're looking good. We're going to throw the carrots in. And we're going to mix this up. All right, and now we're going to put the celery down. So I don't put my garlic down until these are almost done because I don't want to overcook the garlic. Some people do that. If you cook the garlic too much, it gets a bitter flavor. And you just want to make sure that you have a nice garlic flavor throughout your risotto. So the other thing I'm not sure I said is I have this chicken broth on low because it's important that this is hot. So when you start to pour the chicken broth into the risotto, it's already hot so that it'll just continue to cook. There won't be any slowing down of the process. That's the trick to risotto. I have 2 cups of risotto that's about to go in, and I have 4 cups of chicken broth. I might probably need to add a little more water than that too, but we'll see what happens. Oh, and then the other thing I'm going to need to add at the end, let me grab that, is my cheese. I use pecorino Romano, and then we use some milk. Now you can use half and half too, but I don't think you should use heavy cream. It'll just make it too thick. And right now we're trying to keep it to a nice consistency so we can roll it into balls tomorrow. So we're ready with that, and then there'll be extra butter going in at the end as well. So why does everybody love risotto? Butter and cheese. Everything's better with butter and cheese. All right, now you want to season every layer of your food. So we're going to throw some salt. This is real salt from Utah, which is full of minerals. It's a really good salt. I know they don't pay me to say that. I just like them. And here is nice freshly ground pepper. If you notice, I didn't put too much salt because we're going to have the Romano cheese at the end also, and the chicken broth has salt, so we're just going to give it that much for now, and then we can always add more later. All right, and now we're going to put in our risotto. And this, you want it to just pick up all the flavors, all the rest of the butter that's in there and the oil. Get it a little toasted. And then the next thing we do is we add in the wine. This is a special risotto pan from Italy, by the way. It's heavy all the way around. All right, I think we're good. You can see, in fact, if you see the bottom of the pan, you see how there's nothing on the bottom of the pan right now? So we've gotten up all the oil and all the butter, all the juices that are there from the veggies. And now we're going to add about a cup of white wine. Is that right? And then you cook until it all goes into the risotto. And now we're going to throw in our garlic. And now as soon as this wine is all absorbed, we're going to start to throw in some of our chicken broth, which has been steeping with the saffron. All right, perfect. Again, you see the bottom? There's no more liquid, so we need to add it. And I just pour. You know, people have it, they do a little bit at a time, but I just throw it in. It's gonna cook. Because I think I'm gonna use about a cup of cheese in the end. This is about a cup, this container. So we'll go with that. And we'll have that ready to go. I like to have it ready to go, so when you need it, you have it, and you can just dump it in. That's what makes cooking easy, if you prep it. All right, I think we're ready for some more liquid. So we were cooking for a wedding, and we were in the middle of cooking for the wedding, and actually we were plating the dinner, and the power went out. It was crazy. So we immediately ran, we got some flashlights, we got another light, I had, my sons were here, I had one person on one side with a flashlight this way, one person with a flashlight this way, and we had to put candles all throughout the rest of the dining room, and it actually was pretty magical, and it was amazing, and it worked out pretty great, and the clients were happy because it just ended up to be this great mood. So sometimes you just have to go with whatever happens. That's the crazy thing about catering, is you never know what's going to happen. Because I guarantee you there's always a hiccup somewhere that you have to fix. Which is probably why I like it. It's that little crazy adrenaline rush. Milk. And in with the milk. To get it to be creamy and finish cooking. Starting to look a little creamy now. All right, cheese is going down. Melt that right in there. Keep stirring because you don't want anything to stick. You want that creaminess to be there, just like that. You're gonna just cook it a little bit more. So if you want to make risotto ahead of time, you could get it to the stage right before you put the cheese in. And then heat it back up the next day with some milk, and then add the cheese at the right before you serve it again, like what we're doing now, and then you're ready to go. If you don't want to worry about doing this while your guests are hanging around, or before they get here. Mm. Perfect. It's perfect. All right, so we are going to go ahead and put this out into a dish to cool down. Actually, I'm gonna add just a tiny bit more milk. Actually, just get rid of that cat. I think it needs just a tad bit more liquid. And we just pour it in here. So I'm going to add another tablespoon of butter so it can just melt right in there. And then as it's cooling down, it'll just get all absorbed by the rice, which will just add another layer of yumminess to our arancinis. All right. There you go. See you tomorrow. So we're back. We're going to finish those arancinis. We have our risotto, which is all cold now, which will be easy to use to roll into balls. This is some fontina cheese, which is what I put in the middle. So before we cut that up, we're going to do our breadcrumbs because we're going to end up coating the risotto in the breadcrumbs. So I've cut up about a 1/4 cup of parsley. I'm throwing in there. And you dice it pretty small because you don't want big chunks. And then we're going to put a little bit of salt in there, a little bit of pepper, and then some garlic powder. I don't use garlic salt because it's just, then it'll get too salty, because I'm also going to throw in some Romano cheese. So this is kind of the same breading that I use for my cutlets, the chicken cutlets, which are yummy. I'm going to have to make that another day. And then again, I always taste everything for seasoning, so we're going to do a little bit of a taste test on that. Perfect. Perfect. We like perfect. All right, now we're gonna have, these are 2 eggs which I've beaten up. I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of milk. And then I'm gonna add, again, you have to salt and pepper, season all your layers. Pepper, and then let's mix that up. These are actually really cool stainless steel plates that are actually made for doing this type of coating. There's a 3rd one, so you know how sometimes you'll see flour, egg, and then the breadcrumbs. So I have 3, but we don't use flour on this one. And now we're going to cut these up to squares that are going to go inside the arancinis, so you get a melty cheese in the middle. Okay, so I have 2 different sizes. I usually use these ice cream scoops so that they're all the same. This size is more of a traditional size for arancini. So if you're going to make them at home, then you just put that in the middle and squeeze over that, and then just roll it into a ball, and there you have it. And then we just put it in some egg wash and throw it in here. Always use opposite hands, otherwise you get clumpy stuff on your hands. And this is it. That's how you make them. And then you're going to deep fry it and serve it with some marinara sauce, which we'll do later. So that's that size. That's more of a size that we use if you're going to just have a party. This is the size, it's a little smaller, that I use for weddings, when I do my weddings, as an appetizer, because I don't want it to be more than 1 bite when it's an appetizer. It makes it easier. So you see it's smaller, and it's easier for people to eat at a wedding or wherever. So it just depends on what you're doing. You can also make it bigger and stuff it with other things. Like I said before, peas, meat, Italian flavored pork, whatever, sausage. You can put anything in the middle of these guys. And there you have it. We'll come back and show you when they're all done and we're ready to fry. All right, so we're going to be frying the arancini. These are all the ones I breaded and put in the egg. Now we're going to be putting them right into our oil, which is at 375 degrees. And if you don't have one of these are amazing. You just hit the light on there. Oh, see what now went down because I just put the cold arancini in. Because once I make them, I do put them in the refrigerator so that they get solid and they stay good when they fry. So that's kind of an important step. So put them in there for at least 30 minutes. And then I also made a lot more than what you see here. So what I did was I froze them. So once they freeze, I freeze them so that they're separated like this in the freezer. So then once they're all frozen, I can put them in a Ziploc bag and then just take out as many as you want to use as you use them. So it's good. It's like one of those things you could make a lot of. And I just turn them around periodically so that they fry evenly. And then over here, because we're actually doing a wedding tasting right now for some clients. These are some raviolis I made also, which we're cooking for the clients. So I just took these out of the freezer, which I freeze the exact same way. I put them on a tray, make sure they don't touch. And then once they're frozen, I put them in a Ziploc bag. So then whenever I need them, I just pull them out, boil them up. Got some marinara sauce right here, which we're going to use. And they fry up pretty, those cook up pretty quick, the ravioli. All right, so these are gonna go. So these I already fried. You see how they look? They're perfectly golden brown. Got my platter. And then these are going out to my tasting couple. This is some marinara sauce, which I took from right there. And I threw a little bit of Romano cheese just to give it an extra little cheesy yumminess. All right, here we go. Let's try one. Dip it in the marinara. Is this full? So good. So good. Enjoy.